For now, lad.
And that's us recording. Marty Maguire, very welcome to the written word. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Hey, Mick, how are you? It's a pleasure. Thanks very much for asking me.
So I always open with the same question. What are you reading, or what are you listening to, or are you always reading scripts? What's your form of word?
Well, the book I'm reading now is to say I need to colour it in, finish colouring it in first, and then I'll put it away. Though I'd be honest with you, Mick, I wouldn't be the biggest reader in the world. I've never really been. But thankfully, recently I've been fortunate to have been reading quite a bit of work-related stuff. I was just at the Lyric last week doing two lovely brand new plays. One by Pierce Elliott called Gold Here Sky.
Right.
And it's a series over at the Lyric called Listen at the Lyric.
Right, okay.
And so we pretty much went in. I went in on the Monday and the Tuesday of last week with that, but I had it ahead of time, and so I was doing a wee bit of work on that because I love Pierce's work, and I've been very lucky. I've been in Pierce's last two plays, as the Tide Ebbs, and the last one was The Sword in the Sand.
Yeah.
And so I've been in both, and this was written a while ago, but it's starting to get. It was done before, but it got this recording. At the Listen at the Lyric, so it's going to be broadcast, or streamed, whatever they call it, the whole new, and that was great. And then another lovely piece as well. I was working on that at the same time. It's called Bloodlines. It's by Victoria Cafola, and it's a lovely, lovely piece. And it's pitched 100 years apart. Some of it happens 100 years ago with the women and the suffragettes and equal rights for women, and and then two sisters in modern days, and how things have changed, how they haven't changed. So that was a lovely dynamic. So I got to play a bunch of different news readers and customer number 2 going into the butcher shop in Ballymena. So brilliant wee things, to play around with, So, and then there's a few other things. So I've been doing a lot of, thankfully, as the dust is starting to clear a wee bit on the whole COVID thing finally. And believe it or not, I've got my first vaccination coming up.
You must have. It's over 40s next week, isn't it?
It's the over 35s. Yeah, over 35. 1935.
You've always done. You've always done new writing, Marty. You've always been big into new writing, and when people come up with a piece of new writing, you're usually one of the first names on the list that they want to get in. Is that your preference? Is new writing something you always go for, as opposed to classics, or what do you prefer? Is it either or is it just the way it's fallen?
Like, to be honest with you, that has happened a lot in the last lot of years since I moved back from. I've lived in the States for a long time, for 20 years, but I've been back for 12 now, almost 12 years, and thankfully I've been fortunate enough to do this for a living. It's all I've done, which has been lovely and very fortunate. You work hard at it, so you get lucky overnight, but put a lot of graft into it as well. But an awful lot has been brand new stuff, and it's unbelievably exciting because you've got nothing to compare it to.
Yeah,
you have nothing to compare it to. You Playboys of the Western worlds and all that. Philadelphia, Here I Comes. I've been lucky to have done that.
Yeah. At
the Lyric, and Martin Lynch's wonderful play Dockers, which has been done, many times, and professionally, and in the amateur dramatics, and which is a very popular play. But there's been quite a few new stuff, and it's the most exciting, scary, nerve-wracking thing to try to create a brand new characters in a brand new piece of work, like literally a jigsaw puzzle up in the air, pieces all over the floor, and slowly but surely, they come together over a rehearsal process. And yourself and myself and my partner Joe, we worked, with not too long ago on one.
Indeed,
A station once again, which was started off like that, and the wonderful Tony Devlin had to whittle it down to a 2-hour play, where we ended up playing 60 different characters, Joe and I, between the two of us.
Yeah.
The 30-year history of the Fela, but all brand new, So, and you're playing real people, and their family members are in the audience, and you're going, shit. Am I bringing justice? Am I doing this person justice?
Yeah. And
another one was this with the sweetie bottle was another one where you're playing the father or the grandfather of people who are sitting out there, and you're going, oh,
it's another responsibility.
Oh, it's massive. I mean, you're like, not that I need any more weight on me, but you've got like a weighted jacket going, oh God, please do this just tell this story as truthfully as you can, but bring this person to life in a satisfactory way for the people who knew him, you know.
And I suppose
Joe had the same thing.
It's the other thing of not knowing whether the play works as a play. Obviously, once you get the first couple over with, you soon know what works or what doesn't work, or if you're lucky enough that the play gets a second run, you can relook at it. So it's definitely an additional pressure for the performer to go, we're not even sure. You know, sometimes you know yourself whether it works or not work. Do we like go out there? How you're back on?
Oh, what happened there? I have no idea what happened there. One of those fancy. No, it may go again. I don't know. Sure, me and technology, two words that don't exist in the same sentence, Mick. I just had my phone dinging there, and I was panicking to turn the volume down on it.
So do you prefer the new writing? Is that the bigger challenge?
Yes. I have to say, yes. Especially if payoff it works.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple in the last few years. Well, one specifically that was laughed at that I was fortunate to be in. The stage musical version of Angela's Ashes.
The
book.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody, people had seen the film. 6 million people read the book when it first came out. They're still reading it, and it was on all kinds of bestseller lists. But then this production decided that they were going to do a full-on stage musical version of Angela's Ashes, and people were like, "You're having a laugh, aren't you?" You know, I mean, even in Limerick, the first time around in 2017, talk about no pressure when you're going back to where the family sort of grew up before they went to America and then came back to Ireland. There were people there was a fella who made his own posters because the family grew up in the lanes of Limerick, you know, the absolute poorest of the poor. And he put his own, Angela's Ashes, the musical, featuring the hit single, Whinging in the Rain. He made his own flyers and he was putting them up in shop windows now because he was disgusted at the thought of this. This is going to be a joke. It's going to be an absolute, a travesty and spitting in the faces of the memory of these people and the people of Limerick. And it turned out to be a massive success.
Yeah.
To the point where it was brought back again in 2019, and we did Limerick again. It went to the big board gosh in Dublin. We did our lovely, gorgeous Belfast Opera House.
Yeah. I watched it. The Opera House was an impressive show, very impressive show.
And then went to Croydon as well. So it actually travelled out of Ireland, which everybody thought, is this going to move? Would this work outside of Ireland? And it did, because the critics, some of them even in Limerick, said, I went with bated breath at this rubbish idea of a musical, and we're all we're trying to bring these characters to life, and as you say, brand new stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the critics said, I went home and ate my words for dinner, because she'd done a pre-review going, there's no way this is going to work. I'm going to go as a courtesy, blah blah blah. And then she said, I ate my words for dinner and had the rest for breakfast. So because it was a resounding success. And so to have taken on, you play that, because I played the part of the father, in that, which is not a very he wasn't exactly much to write home about, this fella, and that's common knowledge. But to try to bring humanity to a role like that was a big challenge in itself, and with all new writing, and to express some of that through song as well, which is another wee string to my bow, if you want to, just with musicals and stuff over the years. So again, a new piece, which was so fulfilling because it proved all the critics wrong, you know, all the skeptics wrong.
Yeah. And then in terms of, you were saying you just did a reading of a new piece with Pierce, and that's the second new piece. Is there, do you find that, you know, once you end up working with a writer on a new piece of writing, you know, being asked back the second time for another piece because of whatever dynamics happened in the room, or you have a certain relationship with them, does it become more challenging second time round, or you kind of trust each other more, so you can kind of push more of? What way would you see that dynamic working?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is with Pierce specifically, the first one was you know, all those years ago I had a part in Pulling Moves, the TV show, which the local legend Pulling Moves. I was in one of the episodes of that, and was in the run for one other part at one stage, and it's when I was back and forward from the States to here, and I did an episode of that. So I've known Pierce because I'm from Landoon. Pierce is a Landoon fella. So his writing, the way he writes, that's it. That's why we spoke.
Yeah.
So it just was, there's nothing contrived about it. It just, you know, falls naturally out of my gob. So the first time around as the Tide Ebbs, it was a brilliant three-hander. And, you know, some people were going, what is it? And I was going, he writes in the vernacular of people of where we grew up. Yeah. So there's an automatic understanding. There's like a silent understanding of, I know what you're talking about. I know this fella. Yeah. I know this language. This doesn't feel fake to me. There's no the element of having to figure stuff out was removed because I was so familiar with where he was coming from. Yeah. And I think the product at the end of it all was a great product. Second time around was the Sword in the Sand, which was a very intense piece. But I think there was enough trust instilled from the first one. Yeah. Where yes, there was, right, I want this. This is an even harder hitting piece in many ways. And so to come back, I mean, I auditioned like everybody else. Yeah. And more than happy to do that. There was no guarantee that I would be back again. There was a lot of very, very good people in for all of the parts, and thankfully it came my way, you know. So I had a responsibility to make sure that this is not a fluke. I mean, the first one wasn't a fluke. You know, just blood, sweat, and tears, just trying to make it happen, make it real. And the third one, this Gold Tear Sky, is another fantastic piece. It's basically about an RUC man and an ex-IRA man. Right, both in a hospice, dying of cancer, literally in the bed beside each other. Right, okay. And the ramifications of that is just, it's hilarious, it's heartbreaking, it's powerful, and it ticks so many boxes, and it's in its early stages right now, but it's been recorded. We just did it with Ian McElhinney, the wonderful, my old sparring partner, Paddy Jenkins. Fantastic, yeah. And Carrie Quinn, the Mighty Quinn, myself, and it was a great, Matthew McElhinney directed that super. As well. So great stuff. So you mentioned there about singing. Many years ago, you were in a band. A couple of them, yeah. So tell me about your on the road band life. Well, I was in the couple of show bands. I was in an original band called, actually, a mate of mine, one of my dear friends from way back. We've been best mates for 45 years now. Jerry Gavin, he put a clip. There's a clip that I've been slagged to death for years. We were on a BBC talent show called Take One. Right. Okay. And there's a clip on YouTube of that, and he put it. We're in a group. Some of the lads from La Salle were on this WhatsApp group the last couple of years, and he put up. You recognize any? Put him. So it's like, right, there's my Slag Me Now t-shirt, you know. Always keep it because I love it, because don't sling it if you can't catch it, you know. Yeah, absolutely. So let the slagging ensue I was slaughtered on this WhatsApp, but I nobody appreciates that more than me. I love it, you know. So then that, because we did with the Ulster Youth Theatre 100 years ago, 85 and 86, we did Grease and West Side Story. Yep. And you know, there's obviously quite a bit of singing involved in those, and one thing led to another with that, you know. So I went into a show band from West Side Story in '86, a band called Shorty and the Heartbeats.
Right.
Which did old time rock and roll.
Yeah.
And when you were about 3, you were going more, I know. And so we did the clubs, and I was brilliant, you know, old time rock and roll. And then that sort of, I went off to do a bit of acting, because I was spotted in the Ulster Youth Theatre by Marty Jones.
Right.
We were doing wee workshops as well, and Marty came to teach a workshop one day, and we did this reenactment, or an improvised. It was right around the time of Live Aid and all that, you know. That was still, and we did one of these doctors in Africa improvised scene with, you know, children who were, you know, dying of starvation, and whatever we did sparked an interest in Mary to invite me to audition for her new play. And,
right. Okay.
That was another brilliant play, which I've always said could use a return. They talk of doing older stuff. It's called The Girls in the Big Picture. And it's about these women in a wee rural town, like a wee sort of up the Antrim coasty type town, and just their lives pottering along as not. And then out of the big smoke comes this character called Pat Sharkey, he claims to be an agent, and he spots this young singer kid in the village, and he tries it, but he ends up having fun with all the women.
Right. Okay.
I played Ian McElhinney played that part
way
back then, and I was a young lad. And now, if it ever came back, I'd love to play the older creepy guy. And we'll have to find some young whippersnapper to play the kids part. So that involved a bit of singing as well. And that's how the snowball started going. And then a mate of mine asked me to form another band, and we formed a band called the Chevrolets in 1986 that became, changed the name to the Chevys. Old time rock and roll. And I was in the band for about 6 months, and we played everywhere, like, you know, we did all kinds of pubs and clubs and holes in the head. It was brilliant. And talk about learning how to
big time.
Keep your pipes in order, you know, because when you're doing 45 songs a night, sometimes, you know.
Wow.
And then the next night you're doing another. So, and with there's no learning. You're just like, you had to sing them, and if you were losing your voice, you had to figure out a way to get over it. To take the key down until your voice get better again. Lots of tins of tannins, and at the time.
So it was 6 months with the Chevys then. 6
months with the Chevy, and then I went into full time. So the drummer, my friend Mickey Sands, he was behind the drums. He became the front man.
Right. Okay.
And I went off. They got another drummer, Joe O'Donnell. And no sooner had I left the Chevys, they were spotted at a wedding by a manager who loved them, and asked them would they mind if he looked after them. And see, within less than another 6 months, they'd all given up their day jobs. They had this big pink tour Volvo bus, the Chevrolets down the side of it, and they were playing in some of the biggest hotels all over Ireland. They were doing these big festivals in London, opening up for the Beach Boys.
That's crazy.
You know, and I was glad to still be, you know, acting away. But so the joke was, every time I leave a band, they'll go off to bigger and better things, you know. What happened to the Five Tops? And you three. As soon as I left them, come.
Brilliant. Was that the end of
Jackson 6?
Was that the end of the singing? Did you go full time acting after that then, or was there?
I was very fortunate to go into the acting full time, because one job led to another, and I did quite a few shows at the Lyric and some pantos as well, and was finally able to call myself a professional actor, you know, and working way back then with the Sean Kearns, and the Ulster Youth Theatre was a hotbed for some amazing talent under the guidance of Michael Pointer.
100%.
Who's still kicking arse, you know.
Still going.
And he won't be mad at me for saying, as a man in his late 70s, he can outrun.
I was going to say,
he always could outrun. He could outrun all of us. Even then, you know,
his work ethic is phenomenal, and people knew that once you went to Ulster Theatre Company and did one of those summer shows, whatever, when you came out, you got employment because people knew your work ethic would be top level because he wouldn't accept anything else. You know, it was a brilliant
his
not
I honest to goodness,
I did stuff. A load of the guys who all did very well backstage, all went through, you know, pointer stuff because he gave you responsibilities. Going right, you're in charge of making the sets, you're in charge of the sound, you're in charge of the lights, and suddenly you were going in and doing 2 and 3 weeks in the opera house, and you were in charge of that. So phenomenal
yeah.
basis. Phenomenal.
Well, I'm telling you, as you said, the two words work ethic he instilled in. He wouldn't take anybody settling for less than what he knew you were capable of doing.
Yeah.
He would literally give you a good boot in the arse.
Yeah.
And back then, and people, myself included, deserved it at times.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're going, what? It's like, no, but not in. It was just in a way where you knew he was doing it for want of a better word, betterment, and and he was right. And I swear to God, see, whenever later on in the professional life, when you see some people getting on like absolute wankers, you go, nah. That's what people say, because you didn't go to drama school. Where did you learn? You learned from the likes of a wonderful Michael Pointer, 35 years ago, 36 years ago. Going, nah, not acceptable. You're better than this. And treating people with respect, courtesy, and respecting boundaries, and just pushing yourself, pushing your limits, because sometimes he had more faith in you than you had in yourself.
I think probably one of his best attributes is he always has more faith in you, and by the time you leave doing one of those summer shows, you have more faith in yourself. It's that confidence he gives. Hard to work for, because you'll be doing 12, 18 hour, sometimes 24-hour shifts, but you soon learn that's what it takes to earn a living out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I was, the likes of, Jimmy Nesbitt and Conleth Hill, and Sean Kearns, Michelle Fairley, Brianna Corrigan, who went on to sing The Beautiful South, and people who are still like Sturdy Marshall, set designers and lighting guys, musicians. There are so many people that are still working professionally in the business, still, and every time we bump into each other, or there's a wee tiny in a foyer some night, oh my god, somebody will be at the opening night or something. We all start talking about that, and every single one of us come around to the work ethic. God, what we learned then, and for free.
Yeah.
And you incorporate it still to this day into our everyday, if you're lucky to have a job, into every job you get.
Yeah.
And you see what's good, and you appreciate the good people and the people who work hard, and it also makes you go to the lazy ones. Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Hard work is attracted to hard work. That's kind of the way I always think about it. Like, you know what I mean?
And it's meant to be fun, but he still had an element of fun. It's hard to believe because he was like a drill sergeant. Yeah, because the quality of the shows that you had to execute required that type of training, required that type of discipline.
I was going to say discipline was the very word I was going to say. That
or people could get hurt. People, because there was the whole health and safety back then. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing, so you really had to be on top of your game.
Yeah.
And that's where respecting others and others bound, and appreciating the limits of certain people excel in different areas than others, and appreciating that.
Yeah.
So so many things, like a big long list, Mick, of stuff that, you go, yep, learned that, taught that, still trying to do that.
You mentioned earlier as well about meeting up with Mary. You've been in many of Mary's shows. Can you tell us a bit about that? How that came about? How many of Mary have you done? All of Mary's shows?
No. I was in my first professional paid gig, as you want to call it, was The Girls in the Big Picture.
Yeah.
So which was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And then not that many of her shows, because I moved to, anybody who knows me listening, talk about America. I moved to America for the guts of 20 years.
Yeah.
In 1989, January 89. Ian McElhinney and myself were very fortunate to do a film down in New Zealand.
Right.
called the Grass Cutter,
Right.
and which was a supergrass story about the supergrass trials.
Yeah.
Sorry. This guy turned state's evidence against two of the main head honchos in the loyalist paramilitaries, and the government said, "No, we need more names." For more names, he turned in about 23 of them, and they gave him a new identity, witness protection in New Zealand. And Roy Hayward knew the director.
Right. Okay.
From his couple of years that he spent in New Zealand, and I was doing a play called Orphans at the Lyric in 1988, me and the wonderful big Sean Kearns and myself, just a three-hander, and a guy called Stephen Brennan. Haven't seen the man since, but it was a bit of a groundbreaking piece. But Roy knew the director, and he said, "Will you see this one fella for the part of the kid?" And they were saying, "No, the part's kind of already cast in New Zealand," because he had been in New Zealand since he was a little kid. He said, "But will you see this one young lad?"
Yeah.
So I went down to the Europa, and they were all packing up. I was late, and anyway, they reconnected the cameras, and they did this. I ended up getting the gig, so they changed their mind. So there's Michael Henry and myself, and Mary came down to join us. And I tell you how long ago, she was pregnant with Matthew at the time.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's how long ago. That's how long ago that was. So even though there hasn't been too many of Mary's plays, there's been a great friendship from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then I did a night in November.
Yeah.
For the one man show. I first started doing that in a pub I worked in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Because a friend of mine had seen Dan do it in Dublin.
Yeah.
I came back. I was behind the bar one night and usual pun drinks, making whatever. And this guy, a wonderful guy called Colin Gallagher, came in and he threw this book on the bar. He said, "You have got to do this fucking play. I've seen a fucking play in Dublin, and there's the only fellow I know living over here." Yeah, and he was from Bangladesh. You can tell by it. Anyway, he said, "This phone fella, he plays all these different parts. It's set on your neck of the woods, right up your street. And you're the only fella I know over here who could probably do justice to it." He said, "But Marty, it's unbelievable." So I was behind. I went, "Mary Jones." I know Mary Jones, and he was, behind the bar, and so, and then I said, "Dan Gordon." Oh my God! So I started reading it, and I was going, "Hang on, I would come one fella does all this, couldn't grasp the concept."
Yeah.
Anyway, one fucking guy. Like, it's on. So anyway, I set myself at 6 weeks down the line. I said, "I'm going to do this as a reading stage," because I was doing a wee bit of pub theatre.
Yeah.
In this bar. It's a lovely wee Irish bar called Ireland's 32, which was my bread and butter, my livelihood, my everything for 18 years, on and off, and even lovely Geraldine Hughes was a part of some of the pub theatre that we did there as well when Geraldine was over there living before she moved to New York. So we were doing that, and then I just gave myself a date, and I said, right, so with the script in the hand, a microphone, and 3 sort of light bulbs in the roof, we sort of did it, invited people. It was a $10 all-you-can-eat Irish stew sort of night with a band afterwards, and it went down a storm. I went, "Oh, I think I'm onto something here." So fade down, fade up. Mary came to see me do it. We invited her to come, and she gave me permission to do it.
Yeah.
And because it was me, which I couldn't believe, I was so flattered for. But this wee 49-seat theatre on Lancashire Boulevard, she came to see it. Her and her sisters come over and said some lovely things afterwards.
Yeah.
And then the Tricycle Theatre in London were looking to do it again, and Dan wasn't available. So Mary threw my hat in the ring, and they said, "I've just seen a production of it in Los Angeles in a tiny wee theatre, and it's been running for weeks and weeks and weeks now because they're loving it." And they went, "No, we don't want some American coming over here." And they said, no, he's from Belfast. This actor's from, and I know him. And I'm telling you, if you can't get Dan, I would like it. So she really went to the wall for me, and we came over. Me and my mate Tim Byron Owen, his name is, loveliest guy in the world, who directed me in it. And it did brilliant, and to the point where, and then we went to the Edinburgh Festival, and it did brilliant up there, and then the tricycle brought us back, and then ended up going to the Gaiety.
Super.
And I did it, and I couldn't believe it. Finally in Ireland, I got a chance to do it in the Gaiety, and then other people put in a bid because I was still living in the States at the time.
Yeah.
And then they put in a bid for me to come back to Dublin to do it, which I did at a place called the Liberty Hall, a big tall building down in Dublin. It has a gorgeous 300-seat theatre in there.
Yeah.
That very few people knew existed.
Yeah.
So I did it there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And
happy day.
And then, oh, you know what? Actually, when I think about it, and then I was asked to be in weddings, wains, and wakes.
Yeah.
When it was brought back to the Lyric.
Yeah.
Oh man, because I had no concept of what that play was like. And I had the best time ever in that play.
Yeah.
It was mental. The costume changes alone
were
unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
that was one of the first gigs I did at the Lyric, and I was a technical ASM, and there was me backstage, and I was, when I say flat out, I have never been as flat out in all my life.
It was unbelievable. You know, if it took about a week for us all to go, what's next? You know, and any actors watch this know that the quick change thing. I never going to get this. But after, you know, about a week, I was trying to run around to the other side. This girl, oh God, like someone Carrie Quinn and Roisin Gallagher with Hutchins with their high heels, running, hopping on one foot because they couldn't. They get back around the other side to get their high heels because they're annoyed. And putting on a fur coat and a big beehive wig, and then you're a corpse in a coffin, and then you're the granny looking at your dead self because they swap
Put me around,
dead, swap me dead in the coffin to come on as the granny, and they put a dummy in. So there was a wee magic trick. I slid out, the dummy went in, and then I come on as the granny looking at my dead husband. And I was after a while you're going, this is a schizophrenic's dream, this play.
Bonkers, like.
But it was brilliant. The music was gorgeous. Trevor Moore composed the music. I just had the best time. Got to work with some of my dearest friends, you know, like Sean Kearns and Carrie Quinn and Roisin. And
you did Fiddler as well, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yes, I did.
So we went to Edinburgh. That was you and Jack. Yeah.
Me and as I call him, Pajango, Paddy Jenkins.
Yeah, Pajango.
Yeah. We went with the wonderful late great John Hewitt.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
John, talk about learning stuff. Watching that man working, not doing anything, and you're going, he's not doing anything. Can't take my eyes off him.
Yep.
It's just, you know, and he would complain about everything. If you're not going up a hill, you're going down a hill. And don't start me on those fucking cobblestones. You're not 100. You're only, you know. I just love me and Paddy and him. Would just hang out. We all sort of stayed together in a big flat. You know, it was just another great time. And then I did Mary's. Okay, you're right. You know more about with Mary's involvement than myself, Mick. I had.
Did you do HRT? No.
Did
you do HRT? No.
No, I can't even spell HRT.
You did George Best?
No. Oh, that was yes. The one I did in New York that Ian directed.
Right.
Was the original production of a play called Rock Doves.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Which Ian directed at the Irish Arts Centre in New York.
Right.
I did that. That's another cracking piece, brand new piece of work.
Yeah.
I played this not crazy. Sort of homeless, alcoholic guy, Knacker Woods.
Right.
He's living in a shambolic. He's watching a TV and he's convinced he's watching Ironsides on the TV. And out of the blue, into this shambles of a derelict house runs this young kid on the run from the loyalists.
Yeah.
Hiding out there, and there's all kinds of. His dear friend is a local down on her luck prostitute. And it's a brilliant play, and sadly I wasn't able to do it when it came back to the waterfront.
Right. Okay.
Because I was in the Chronicles of Long Kesh at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Martin's fantastic play, and it was going back out on a tour, and I had to make one of those. God, the timing was just, not train crashing into each other.
Yeah.
So I had to make a call, and I had to go with the Chronicles of Long Cash. So they recast Rock Doves, which kind of broke my heart. I loved the play, and I would have loved.
Chronicles was a good gig because I was on it with his, not the original on the waterfront, but the one after that before Australia, and it was a good long tour and a great bunch of people, and powerful people.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, we took it all the way to Tasmania.
Yeah.
Look at that. The fancy lights gone out again.
How many of Martin's plays have you done? Doctors,
Chronicles of Long Cash. A couple of pantos that he's produced.
Yeah.
Did I say Chronicles of Long Cash? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, the 1932, The People of Gallagher Street.
Yeah.
That was in that as well.
George Best was him, Aunt Mary, wasn't it?
Him, yeah, Martin and Mary, directed by Peter Sheridan.
Yep.
Oh, it was a brilliant. And again, with my, I don't know what's going on here. With my one of our sparring partner, Mr. Jenkins, again. What's that?
I'm gonna start taking.
It's alive. It's alive. So, me and Paddy and it had a couple of costume scenes. Well, there's another mad costume scene.
Yeah.
But when it was brought back, we had quite a few recasts in that as well. So, but another brilliant show and fantastic music. And
as you were saying there, how many shows have you and Paddy done together on team?
Because I was away so long, and Paddy. I mean, I just watched them last night in Sadie.
Man, something else. Like,
can I just say, Paddy, have you ever got to watch this? And all of that and cast, just unbelievable. We were watching it last night. Whenever they come out and took a curtain, me and Joe were applauding the TV.
Cracking,
I was blown away.
Yeah.
And I was so, and Abby was amazing. And they all were. When you're doing these things, you get brain farts with names. But I was just to see Paddy just home run. Absolutely brilliant. All the comedy and all that serious stuff that he's fantastic at as well. Because I had to kill him every night on stage in a Piers Elliott play. So we and then we were two. We played quite a lot together, and it's so much fun. Like so many different, and dancing shoes especially. There was two characters we played, two restaurant owners in Los Angeles, Chad and Brad, and that was a lot of fun. And then we go into a play where I have to blow his brains out every night while I haven't tied the fucking wheelchair.
Right.
So we were also in On Eagle's Wing together.
Right.
The big Scots, Irish, Ulster Scots, whatever they wanted to call it thing.
Yeah.
It didn't quite get to flap its wings, let's put it that way, when it went to America. And
the potential was there. Everyone thought, it was going to go something. So
it's one of those ones we don't know. We as the performers will never really know the full extent of as to why it didn't quite take off. But the experience was unbelievable. At one point, it was going to be logistically be the biggest stage show in the world, apparently, because there was 36 dancers, all brilliant. 18 of the top musicians in the world champion drummers, pipers, just guitar players who play with everybody from Van Morrison. Our wonderful Mark Dockery, great Mark, rest in peace, Mark, was the MD on it. And you're going, well, this is just going to, because we ended up doing 3 shows at the Odyssey.
Right.
The SSE to get it recorded for DVD with Peter Corey as the lead and Ailith McCormick with the 2 leads, and then there was George Jones, our wonderful BJ Hogg, who sadly passed away very recently, and Paddy and myself.
Yeah,
we played these 4 idiots that went through 300 years of history, so we just had the best crack in that as well. 10,000 people for 3 performances, and then that, but it got scaled down. Peter Corey took a smaller version of it, and it ended up going to Holland,
Very
I
good.
wasn't involved in that production. It did the Opera House as well with a smaller version, and it did really, really well.
Brilliant.
And then it got scaled down slightly again and went to Holland and was very successful. Paddy was there with BJ, and it did really well. But that was another one. Just time of your life on that, you know.
Yeah.
You're looking around, you got your pension. You're going, that's what I do for a living. I do this for a living, and people are still foolish enough to say, "Do you want to have a job?" And you're going,
Absolutely.
So it's always, you know, you're fortunate to be asked or you audition, because I keep saying if a part's worth playing, it's worth fighting for. You know.
Very true.
Some people have the opinion that if you've done it so long, you shouldn't. Wait, whoa. Get out there and fight for it. Earn your keep. You know, earn your part, so you can go. Yep. Well, it wasn't that was handed to you.
Yeah.
You went out and you fought for it, and you got it.
100%. 100%. Is that what advice would you give young actors or early stage actors? Would that be it, to go out and fight for everything and put yourself forward?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I keep saying to you, you know, you find them saying the same things over and over again, but only because they're true. Mick, you know, nobody put a gun to our head to make us do this for a living. This was a choice, you know, that, you know, an interest was sparked in you by somebody else, or it was just something you always wanted to do. Mine came through a very strange, fortuitous way of doing Grease in school in 1982, and then a school teacher put me in for the auditions for the Ulster Youth Theatre because he knew I wouldn't put. He saw the ad in the paper and put my name in for it. Me and my mate Eamon McKenna, and we went down for the audition anyway. He said, sure, go down. You never know. Snowball, you know. It's talking about Mary Jones coming to see us do the wee improvisations, and then, you know, getting into her. But just if it's something that you want to do, keep reminding yourself you made this choice to do this. And just know there's going to be an awful lot of very, very talented people out there. And people say, well, you know, there's a wee lad from Belfast or a wee girl from, but everybody's a wee boy or a wee girl from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, some of the biggest stars that ever, if you're in it to become a star, you know, some of that, you know, there's a big thing in the recent years with the social media becoming such a massive thing, that this desire to be famous, you know, no matter what, just to be a celebrity. But if you want to do this for a living, get out there, find out what's happening, and fight for it. And just keep reminding yourself, I chose to do this. So when you do get that knock, I heard the lovely Glenn Wallace say, he gave himself a train ride home to get over the disappointment. And that's it. Joe and I, my partner Joe Donnelly, who we met on the Chronicles of Long Cash. You know, you get rejected an awful lot more than you get accepted. But when you get accepted, it's boy, is it worth it, you know, it's worth it. And you need to take the 5 minutes to go, right, it didn't work out this time. And as people say, you could have been the wrong height, you could have been you could have a bad day. The person making the decisions could have been having a shittiest day. They could have all kinds of problems at home, weren't focusing on you the day you went in. You could have knocked the shite out of your audition, and they just weren't tuned in that day. So stop blaming yourself. As long as you know you've done your best, you've got to dust yourself off and go, right, next, and keep moving forward. Easier said than done, but it's a tough old game. And you make no bones about it as well. You know, you've seen many people do well in some and many different attitudes in a room.
Indeed.
And just know that one of the best pieces of advice is just don't be because if people are going to make decisions to say, I've got a list of incredibly talented people here, but who can I be in a rehearsal room with for 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Can I spend 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 days a week sometimes? That's a big part of it too. So just respect people as well.
Do you think you'll ever branch out into other areas of theatre or film in terms of directing or writing, or do you just want to stick with acting, or does that interest you at all?
It does. Directing. I've got tons of great ideas in my head, Mike, but I'd be shite at putting them on pen to paper, or on the laptop. sometimes how I got on this laptop tonight was a miracle to talk to you. And anybody who knows me, when you say sign and return, download this, copy and paste, cut and paste. I'm looking for scissors. I want him, but directing, I would love to have a go. I've done a wee bit of it, but I would love to. But when it gets into technical stuff, I'd be lost. If I could focus on the scene, what's happening between actors on stage. That's just because you know what's ringing true, and what's not ringing true. And my mommy's advice for years, 2 ears, one mouth. Learn to listen. She said, "Who ever learned anything from talking all the time?" Even though that's all I've done tonight. Learn to listen.
In terms of the technical side of things, that's something that directors learn as they go along. Very few people walk into direct a play and fully understand light, sound, AV, stage management. But with the amount of time that you've spent in production weeks and technical weeks, you're probably further ahead than most. Do you know what I mean? You may not know the absolute intricacies, but that's what you have other people for. Do you know what I mean? As long as you can know the theory of it and play about with it. So I've been saying to you for years, you should direct, man. You should definitely direct. So you need to kind of push yourself to go and do it, because that side of it isn't that difficult. And with technology now, whether it be phones or laptops or computer programs, and some of the technicians out there are like, Bill Gates, to just sit down at a computer and make amazing things happen in no time. So, that don't be afraid of that side of it. If that's the only thing that's holding you back, just go for it.
Well, to be honest, there's been a couple of wee things come up, but I would be openly just say it actually scares the life out of me. But I do think if I had a chance, working with actors in a room, the 30 odd years of doing this, I've usually get along with most people and know how to work with people. And I would love to get a piece of raw new material and mold it into something on a floor, on a stage that would ends up with its own lungs and its own life and its own reality and truth to it, And as you say, there are so many brilliant people, yourself being one of them, that can make all the other bells and whistles happen, So I'll make you a promise now. I'm definitely going to take it as a result of tonight. I'm going to take, because I know you have said to me over the years.
I know, and you kept on going, I don't know, and like, man, you've been natural. Let's just try it out,
All right, well, I make you a promise now. I will try. I'll try gooder than I have.
Well, there you go.
I'll be better at it.
So, if there's any people watching this who maybe even have a short 15 or 20-minute piece, or any actors who would love to be directed by Marty Maguire, and no one's got any dough, but there you go. Give them a shout. And
if this was live and you had you can see how many people are watching, you'd have seen it go. Laptops, people going, nah, that's it.
You never know.
Marty, if anybody does want to be,
go ahead. Go ahead.
If anybody does want to be directed by me, I promise you, I bring my own tuck shop, tons of sweets, and I love getting a wee tuck shop going in a rehearsal room. People say, "Oh, yeah, that's a bunch of garbage. You'll never." 2 days later, going, "Do you have any Kit Kats? Do you have any potato cheese and onion?" Yep.
We'll put it this way. There's the challenge. Let's say, we could still be, I know we're getting out of lockdown, we're getting vaccinated, but it could still be 10 or 12 weeks away. So you never know. You could have directed something in the next 10 or 12 weeks. You could rehearse a bit of it on Zoom. You could do whatever, get it off the ground.
Well, it's actually, there's a you know what? You're one of them skagigs. No, there's actually a screenplay that we've did a couple of Zoom readings, rehearsals for. It's brilliant concept. A story I think I mentioned to you that really did happen. It's called Housejackers.
Yeah.
And these students back in the late 90s in the Holy Lands were held hostage by this crazy, mad pastor who was using their house as a vantage point for a big drug deal that he was going to intercept and take it all for himself. But he nailed windows shut and pulled shutters down, locked these students in to this house for like a week.
A week?
While he orchestrated this thing on the Armour Road, Winners Arcade. not the Armour Road, around the Carlisle Circus, when there's arcade. There was a but I said to the lads, this would work really well on stage. This would, and so they've been getting back to me soon. And they're lovely guys, David Klein and Brian McLennan. Brian's from here.
Yeah.
And this happened to him, and so he's prefaced the Zoom reading that we did last Wednesday. He said, this story really happened.
Yeah.
And you're reading, so I said, God, it would work well on stage, So, but they're trying to sell it as a movie at the minute. So, some interested parties were watching last week. So, you never know. If it comes to the stage, I would maybe give that a go. I don't know.
Well, why don't you say to them, okay, well, let's do, even if you did a reading on stage, because obviously going from a film script to a stage script, it'll need, tweaked and.
Oh yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, it needs tweaks, but the bare bones of it would definitely, you could see, and that's with the likes of Tony Davin, the guys that got are brilliant at taking stuff, and that's Brassnack have done such a great job with the likes of the Sweetie Battle, which again started off with Joe Brennan's script, and with a great collaboration there, it ended up doing brilliantly, and everybody keeps saying I'd love to see it again, and because I think it was the first. And I don't know if it's still the only play that started off in the Baby Grand and ended up, when it was brought back, went to the main stage of the Opera House.
It was definitely the first. I can't think of another one, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been one. But it was definitely the first one to do that.
It was definitely the first play that started its life in the Baby Grand and then went and played and sold out the main stage, which was lovely. And that was, again, yeah, you're right, because when I think back on the rehearsal process of you're going, how are we going to make this scene work? And then the likes of Tony Davin would come in, or there's other wonderful directors too. The other directors are available, but Tony Airclass,
just not.
Just don't give you as hard a time as Tony Davin does. No, what are you doing, Carl? No. That's brilliant. I'll never forget Tony's face when we were rehearsing the Sweetie Battle Sideway, whenever they're like brilliant Kieran Dolan and Jared Jordan. And so we're just riffing off each other in the rehearsal room. Tony, I think he might have 2 hairs left at that stage. They were all gone because the lads, it was brilliant. I got to lean on the bar and as a character, just watching these two as geniuses go at it, and just it was like 2 5-year-olds full of sweets. It was brilliant. So when I think back at some of the rehearsal program, going, yeah, I have learned a lot. You're right, like I picked it all up, going, I could just, but that would have been like trying to stop a runaway train. Then it was brilliant, but in the best possible way. Though.
Yeah. Marty, it has been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
and I'll see you soon.